What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dripping Creativity Podcast. I am your host, Chris Corvan, and today we have a truly inspiring guest, Tamara Kay Sellman. Tamara is a multifaceted writer and poet who recently won laurels for her poetry film Look Up at the WRPN Women's International Film Festival. Before we jump into our interview with Tamara, I wanted to remind you to subscribe to the Dripping Creativity Podcast wherever you listen, and don't forget to check out our sister show, Inks and Lattes, hosted by DJ Bloxel and Eva Crow every Wednesday, where they discuss the latest creations from the cafe community, hot topics in the industry, and their personal picks of the week. Now, let's dive into the creative journey of Tamara. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Tamara Sellman, rhymes with camera. I always throw that in there because, and still doesn't matter, someone will still call me Tamara, but that's okay, I'll answer to that too. I am a creative person. I mostly am a writer, but I became a filmmaker in the last year. I grow things and fix things in the kitchen from the things that I grow. I like to draw pictures, although I haven't done that in a while. I just make whatever. I've always just been a compulsive maker of whatever, and I love seeing people being creative, the ideas that come from that. I love being creative even if I'm really crappy at it, because I still learn something and then it applies to something else I've done. So, and I have a new book coming out, so of course I gotta throw that in there. I'm so excited.
Definitely, we're gonna be getting into that one here soon. Don't you worry about that. Yeah, when it comes to being crappy, generally I don't like to be crappy at things. I've given up on a lot of things because I wasn't great at it right away. That's very much an issue. But there are those some things where it's like I was raised in the brain that everything I do should be monetizable at some point.
Yeah,
and it's a horrible thing. I don't, but that's just kind of how I was raised.
Same. And it's a really common issue. I mean, I was raised that way before there was such a thing as the word monetize.
Well, definitely.
If you can't do it right, don't do it at all, which is like really a mistake. It's a huge mistake to think like that. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So doing some things where it's just, I just want to try. I don't expect to ever show anyone. I'm doing it for me. Is very refreshing sometimes. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm also the type that likes my really full toolbox, because
me too.
It's like everything I've ever done comes back in some way, and I can use it for something.
That is so true. I mean, I can vouch for that just this week, because a year ago, I went to a poetry film festival here in Seattle called Cadence. I'm a poet. I like independent film. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is so trippy and raw and cool and imperfect and weird and one of a kind. I got to do this. I'm a poet and I have a book out, and I'd like to maybe make a video or two from my poetry book. So I attempted it. I had a couple of false starts, and then I figured out how to make a poetry film in Canva of all places. Oddly, I did some of my own footage, but it was sort of a collage of things. And then I had the ovaries to submit it to a film festival, to several, and they've all been no's except for one. And it's actually going to be showing in June or July of this year at the WRPN Women's International Festival. So that's nothing ventured, right?
Well, exactly.
And it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But then this last week, I just rolled out the cover reveal for my book. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is make a book trailer. Well, now I know how to make a book trailer because I made a poetry film, and it's kind of the same thing. And it came so easily, and it was so much fun. It was like a natural high for me to do it. And it took like a day, and I was like, oh, look what I just did in a day. That is so kick-ass. So anyway, I can vouch for all of that.
That's unbelievably fantastic. And I mean, that's one of the hardest things I think creatives, we get stuck in our head about. It's that line of perfection, and being able to take rejection, I think, is one of the hardest things.
Oh yeah.
And that's and like I've been talking to a couple people about it, and it's like, you don't know why they rejected you. You don't. It could be for a million reasons that has nothing to do with you or the product at all. Maybe they just
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
take anymore. Maybe they have too many of that genre. There are so many
Hmm.
reasons why you could be rejected that if you were to try to figure it out, you would go insane. So you have to
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
just it doesn't exist now. You got rejected, fine, done. You have to focus on
Turn it
something
around.
else.
Yeah.
And to keep
Or turn it around and find another place to submit it
it,
to,
well,
because
exactly.
it just might. Maybe that was just not the right place for that. I
Exactly.
used to be a magazine editor. I used to publish a magazine called Margin, and having had that side of the, been on that side of the fence when it comes to publishing, I totally get it. I've had to reject really good work, and it's broken my heart even, because you're like, oh, this is so good, but we already have a story kind of like that.
Hmm.
And they're both different, really good stories, but because I have interests that relate to what my readers want, I have to like cleave to that. So having to say no to good work happens all the time, and it is nothing personal. So yeah, you just got to turn it right back around again and just keep going, and just like be like a robot about it, and not get all emotionally caught up in the no,
Yeah,
because it has, as you said, usually or often not anything to do with you or your thing that you made. For
definitely.
sure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's very much, you have to develop a business brain alongside the creative brain, and you have to
Ugh.
know how to separate the two, where this is now a
Ugh.
product, and that's all it
Yes.
can be. It's not my baby. It can't be your
Yeah.
baby anymore, because that's too crushing when you get a rejection. So
Oh God. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, when you said, I've actually been able to come to the place where when I send forth my creation out into the universe, somewhere, the wilderness, I guess, and it makes a home for itself out there, then I realize it's no longer my own. And then people can take it for whatever it is, and either they're gonna like it or they're not, or whatever. But it's done. It's found its home. It's like your child. They've graduated, gone off to college. They're still your child, but they're their own, autonomous thing. And that helps me just to kind of deal with that. It's just the getting it out there, just to connect with your readership or your fans or whatever it is that you're making your viewers. That's for me, the really hard thing.
oh,
It's such a struggle. Oh my
well,
God.
100%. I mean, that's the entire reason I started my Medium page, was literally just
Mm,
because I didn't have anything out there. I've tons of stuff that I do, but when it came to my writing and all that, I didn't have anything because I never felt confident enough to just post it. And
yeah.
it's just over the
Yeah.
past couple months, it's like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I need it out of my brain. So it gets
Yeah, I
posted,
saw
it
that.
gets done.
Yes.
I do these
Good.
things now. It's great. It feels like a weight off my shoulders every time I do it.
Oh, a
Well,
liberation.
exactly. And it's like, you know what? If
Oh.
somebody finds it, awesome. If they love it, awesome. If they hate it, you know what? It's for me in the end. You know?
Oh my God, I'm so inspired. Thank you for saying that, because I have a Medium and a Substack that are just like collecting dust right now, and I know I should be putting those to use, but I haven't quite figured out what I need to do them. Well, maybe the Medium, I have a few ideas, but the Substack, I have no idea. I just know that I have one. So, we actually have more tools than ever
Oh,
before
yeah.
as creative
Well,
people,
way too many
which is
tools.
awesome. It's almost way too many. But then also the rules for how to produce and put things out in the world and stuff change constantly
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's like it's not just making that's hard. It's the learning curve that comes with dispersing it out into the world where it should be. I mean, I make work obviously for myself, it has to please me, but I really intend for it to be out in the world. So it's not just for me. So that's for me the big hurdle for me. I think it's not writer's block. It's not, depression from, oh, I don't have the story anymore. If it's out there, I'm like, yeah. But just getting it out there is just like
Yeah.
such a labyrinth of things to do. So
Well, okay, so now that we're like 10 minutes into the conversation,
I know.
See, this is why I love this series. It's just ranting. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Anyways, let's actually start with a topic here. You've had a lot
Yeah.
of diverse experiences in writing, from journalism, creative writing, literary magazines. How has all of this stuff influenced your writing style and your perspective when it comes to creating things?
That's such a great question. Oh, I love that. There's this idea of the crooked path, And it's like, to get somewhere, it's not really a straight line. And you don't even want that straight line. I mean, these people who go into TikTok and they have one video that goes viral, man, that is so much fucking pressure. You do not want that. You do not want that. You want the crooked path, because around every turn you learn something new that could be applied to the next thing. And you don't even know those tools that you're going to need 10 years from now. So the crooked path is how you pick them up. It's like a video game. You go here and you pick up the little shiny thing and the little key over here, and check out the little fire flame up here and see what that'll do. And there's maybe a little dude inside that cave that's got to give you something. I mean, to me, that's creativity. And so so my life has been this weird crooked path, starting out in journalism. And then I stayed home with my kids and decided, well, I don't have to wait until I'm retired to write fiction. I can do it now while I have kids at home, and just figure out a way, which blossomed into becoming a small press publisher of a very niche magazine called Margin, Exploring Modern Magical Realism, which was really it should have been intended as a blog, but they didn't have blogs back then. This is a long time ago. So I actually made a website, Angel Fire. You can actually still find it. And I did that for 10 years, exploring this topic that I probably should have gone to college to learn, but instead I became kind of an expert on it. And now people use my website to, support their bibliography, their citations for their theses and so forth. So I did that for a while, and then kind of did what it needed to do. And we all kind of had a small staff, and we kind of dispersed after that. And then I went back to school to become a sleep technologist, because I felt like I was just so stuck inside my house and so isolated, being a mom, being a writer, being an editor, always my face on a screen. I just wanted to see people again, because I do, even if I'm a bit of an introvert, I do like people. It's a weird thing.
I get that. I 100% get that.
I know you get that. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I went back to school. I got my credentials. That was a little more than 10 years ago, and did that for a while. And then I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that will change you, not just because it's a disease, but my particular symptoms were that I couldn't read, and I would have trouble speaking. So as a communicator, no, that's not going to work. And so I had to really learn how to take care of myself and figure out what this was all about. And that morphed into becoming a patient advocacy columnist for people with multiple sclerosis. But I also turned that into paid work as a sleep health educator, because I could no longer work those overnight shifts, tending to patients. And then I finally just said, okay, I'm kind of done with that. My kids have grown, they're out of the house. I'm ready to just go back and work on my own stuff, especially during the pandemic. And I've been slowly moving my way back to more creative stuff, and kind of retired myself from working on other people's writing and projects. And now I'm just working on my own. So even though I'm retired, I'm always working on something, but I wouldn't have it any other way, And that has shaped my writing style, because I think when I was doing the magazine Margin, that sprung from the discovery of work by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I had no idea what it was even called. I just read it and it resonated. And then I wrote my first weird story that I thought, oh, no one's going to like this. Not only did people like it, it got published and it was nominated for Pushcart Prize. It was the second short story I ever published. There you go. So things happen, and you're just but that was only because I experimented. So I'm always going to go back to that theme. Just dive in and do it however you can, even if it's imperfect, because you never know what you're actually made of until you do it. And I know it's scary, but what's really scary to me is living with regret. I don't want to go, oh, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, wonder. Oh, that's madness. That way lies madness.
100%. I mean, even as far as I'm concerned, failure is never failure unless you don't do it.
Yeah.
That is the only true failure, is just never trying. And,
seriously.
And it's there are so many amazing writers that I know that refuse to even try and publish because the timing isn't right or whatever reason. Oh, and it's very much no, like there's never going to be the perfect time.
No,
There's never going to be the perfect
so
book.
true.
You just have to do it. And that's how
you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
You're going to make mistakes.
And,
I mean,
the margin of people whose first book is critically acclaimed and make them $1 billion is so minimal that it's damn near impossible. You have to just do it. You have to just put it out there.
Yeah, seriously.
And that's the only way you're going to learn how to get better.
Yeah.
And
well, I have the same experience as a gardener. And I mean, I've been seriously gardening now for about 4 years, but I grew up in a gardening family. And so everyone says how much I have this green thumb. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I throw seeds out there and they don't sprout. I pull the wrong plants thinking they're weeds. I do all the stupid shit everyone else does. But and people stress about something like gardening, which should be the opposite. You should go out there and just be in your element and feel all the feels and do it's all nurturing and all that good stuff. But people are like, oh, I can't garden because it's so stressful. Why stressful? And the reason I do it is that I feel like it's the ground that you can lay for yourself to do nothing but make mistakes. It's like science. 99% of science is failed experiments. But from that's where you grow and you learn. So every year you get a little bit better. The crops come in, you have more seeds. I mean, I just transplanted some plants on a windy day, knowing better. I should have known better, and I've already lost a couple. I'm like, I did that. I started those things from seeds, and I killed them. So what? I'm not stressed about it because now I know, and I have a little journal. I keep a note. I'm like, okay, not gonna do that again, and I'm gonna become better for it. So you gotta just do it. Just do it.
Learn to fall on your face.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way you're going to get back up, No, 100. So then we've actually covered a lot of like a little bits of everything on my list, kind of just sidetracking all the way through. Let's go back to your battle with MS and how that has affected the creative side of things, being able to be creative, and how you've managed to work a system through it.
Oh, that's it. Well, there's a couple things. The first one is just you have to, my first book is actually the culmination of poems that I wrote following my diagnosis as I tried to figure out this disease and how I got it, why me, all the things. So I went through all that grieving process, which is really important when you have a chronic illness, is you have to go through those stages of grief and hopefully come out on the other side okay. So I wrote that book, mostly that was really truly for myself, but then I realized, no, I think this needs to be out in the world because I didn't see anything out there quite like it. And to me, that's like, if you're going to make something, try to see if you can make it for the benefit of more than just yourself. That's just the way I am. So part of it for me, the experience was just unearthing all the feeling through art, all the things that you're going through art. And then part of it is learning how to be more forgiving when you can't. And I guess maybe I don't have writer's block, but I think what I learned from having MS is that if you have a really tired, shitty day, maybe you just need to take a break, and it's okay. And you shouldn't think of yourself as lazy. You're practicing self-care. If that's true for writing, if you're struggling with creativity too, well, then just take a break. And I'm telling you, every time I've ever done that, it comes right back. So I think people are afraid they're going to lose their grip on whatever they're working on. But no, sometimes you just need to, you're hangry and you just need to take a nap and, eat some crackers. So yeah. And then just the MS thing too, I think it shaped me as a writer because of the kinds of symptoms that I experience, which are not the same for everybody. But for me, they're very directly related to my ability to be a writer. And I've been a writer since I was age 4. I was writing full sentences with, compound words and all that when I was 4. So in my mind, I've always been and always will be a writer, which is probably why I don't have block, because I don't really have any emotional issues or attachment to writing. But tomorrow I might have a flare up and then I won't be able to speak. Wouldn't be able to do this podcast. Or if you can't read, you can't write emails, you can't check your socials, you can't do all these things. And you certainly can't read and write and revise. And so I want to protect, that's like my currency. And so I feel like the diagnosis makes me take better care of myself so I can be all of who I am. And that means every day I wake up saying, okay, I can still read, I can still speak, I can still function in some level. I'm going to make the most of the energy I have today, and I'm just going to do it. And so there's almost an urgency to it, because I feel like I've been in remission for about 10 years now. And I'm like, oh man, when is that other shoe gonna drop? Because it's always back there, that uncertainty, because you can't ever call it. You can't see it coming. It will come out of nowhere. But on the other hand, it's given me this like purpose, and I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm not gonna let things stop me unless I just have no power over it. And that's it. You know, life's too short to like be timid. Just jump in, you know?
That's honestly a fantastic mindset, I think, is what I take away from that, is taking something that has affected your life completely and used it as a tool to help progress your future. Not ignoring it, not pretending it's not there, but utilizing what it gives you, and in a hopeful way, as opposed to, you know, the negative side, and just being like, oh, this sucks. It's really
I mean, I've been there too. I have been there too. I've done the feeling sorry for yourself. But I mean, going back to the gardening thing, compost, what is compost? It's just dead weeds and muck and everything, but you use that compost to grow new things. I mean, it's just right there. So I mean, anything you can use, take that energy. And I'm someone who deals with depression. I deal with some other, like ADHD and depression and some other things. And so for me, it's about the energy, and taking that energy and molding it into something that's actually more like a seed rather than a stone, you know, something that's going to grow something and be, you know, productive and living, you know what I'm saying? So anyway,
absolutely love that. I think that's the best mentality to have, and is something a lot more people need to work towards, I think, because again, there is nothing wrong with the feeling the feels of anything negative happening to you. Like that's part of the process. I think it's just it's very easy to get lost in that side of things. I'm a firm believer that negative emotions are more common and prevalent because they're easier than feeling the positive and the hope, right?
They're low vibration.
And it's so much easier, and that's where the, like, you know, I refer to it as the demon in my head there, to latch onto and to feed that, because it lasts longer than happiness, and it's easier to get to, because it's easier to fall down than it is to climb up, right?
Oh yeah. It's freaking quicksand in the basement is what it is.
Well, exactly. And it's so hard. So, you know, if you can find the tools to get out of that, to use it as a way, like for me, it's out of spite most of the time.
I love that.
I very much get into a pity party mentality, where I just feel depressed and all of that stuff. And it's no, like why? No, I do it out of spite. It works. It works, man. So that's unbelievably fantastic. We're already closing in on the 30 minutes. Man, I really should have set these at an hour. This is just way too short. Yeah. So before we even start wrapping up, we got to talk about the upcoming book.
Yay!
So please.
It's called Cul-de-sac Stories. It's speculative fiction, which means it's not happy stories, people. So don't think of cul-de-sac and think, oh, you know, flowery mailbox and children's skipping rope and playing, you know, kickball. And you know, nothing like that. It's really, the theme of it really is the ideas that we have about the safety in our world, and how maybe our worlds are not as safe as we think they are. And it definitely comes from a wellspring of feminist thinking. And there's a lot of female characters, you know, mother, maiden, crone, that kind of stuff going on in there. But speculative meaning it's kind of a buffet, really. It's not just one or the other. And speculative is, of course, a big umbrella, but there's science fiction, there's fantasy, there's magical realism, there's horror, there's like a weird, transgressive, reverse time dystopian story. There's all kinds of weirdness in there. So maybe a little bit of the supernatural and the occult. But it's all to kind of talk about what we trust and what we put our trust in, and how that may not always be so safe. And I call them ex-urban stories because they're kind of set in suburbia, but in some cases are set even further out, out in the farthest reaches of the populations. And although there is one story that's kind of set in Chicago, believe it or not, but maybe I would call it like inter-suburban Chicago. But it's a weird story about a tornado that touches down in the city. Yeah, it's weird.
That's unbelievable. But I'm excited to hear about that. Yeah, no. When you get closer to publishing, we're going to bring you back and we'll do a full interview over that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I would love it.
Because
much fun.
No, that's the type of stuff that I just I want to know everything. And I believe I may end up cutting this, but you have a podcast.
Yes, and I hardly ever talk about it. It's called Beneath the Rain Shadows, and I don't know why I don't talk about it. I think it's just I have too many, things on the docket right now. But
I know all about that.
Yeah, you do. My good buddy Clay Vermolin and I are both horror writers here in the Northwest, and we just have it's just monthly, but we give each other writing prompts that are set in the Northwest and kind of, mine the quirkiness of this, region, and tell horror stories and write horror stories. And then we drop them into each other's emails, and then we have to read them and give each other feedback. And so it's kind of like a writer's group, but just the two of us kind of going over the whole thing. And it's super fun. I really love Clay's writing. We both kind of have a similar sensibility, even though our styles are very different. But by the end of the year, we're both going to have 6 stories each. We're going to put them in a book and call it Rain Shadows, and it's going to be out maybe next year, or as soon as next year. So it's super fun.
Again,
super fun.
Well, actually, so then that could be a third episode, is having the two of you on.
Oh, that would be great. We could do that.
Yeah,
we could do that.
And as I had posted just yesterday, we have the Writers Roundtable coming up. The Creators Roundtable, which we'd definitely love to get a whole bunch of people in there for different genres and different things. I think I got like 3 different horror ones planned. I have
cool
3 different romance ones planned, and then a whole bunch of movies. Yeah, it's just getting a whole bunch of people that are all kind of think the same from different angles, putting them in a room just to get them to talk, and then I do that again with another section, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to do. So definitely have to get you and everyone else who wants to come. So then, as we literally are coming up on the 30 minutes here, which is insane because it felt like we just started, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at the website rhymeswithcamera.com. And Cul-de-sac Stories actually is its own redirected page, cul-de-sacstories.com. But rhymeswithcamera.com is my main page, and you'll find, my blog, links to all the things. I think I have a link tree in there, and you can follow me in socials. You can, because you see me in Threads. I'm in Threads, but also Facebook, LinkedIn. What are they? All the Mast. I have like 4 Mastodons, one including a Medium one. I have a Medium in Mastodon, and then Blue Sky, Instagram, pretty much all. I don't really do TikTok or anything like that, but those are all the things that I do. Yeah,
that's absolutely perfect. Well, I'll make sure to grab all of those links and put them down in the description for everyone.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think outside of that, that's it for this time, but there will be more because you're amazing and so fun to talk to.
Well, I love talking with my creative people. They're like my second family. I could never, we could just sit around that table and drink beer or coffee for hours. It would be so much fun.
Literally, that was the entire reason of starting this whole thing, was just to hang out with people and find those creatives where you're just like, no, we're just going to keep going. And so far, every single one has just been unbelievably amazing. And this has just been so much fun. I've loved every chat I've had. Cool. So thank you.
Well, thank you for doing it. It's so cool. Definitely. Thank you for making this for that. I really appreciate it.
And so I think that's it. We'll wrap up here and just give us a goodbye.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Chris. It was so fun talking to you.
Thank you, Tamara, for an amazing chat and for sharing your creative journey with us. And to everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a rating wherever you happen to be watching. Your support helps bring more incredible stories to light. Don't forget to tune in to Ink and Lattes every Wednesday. I've been your host, Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Dripping Creativity Podcast, part of the Creative Coffee Cafe community. Remember to stay creative, stay inspired, and until next time, see ya.